Hello and welcome to the fifth video in this short little series called Understanding the Guitar. In this video I'm going to try and show you the way that I use some of the things we've looked at already in playing a real song. Before we do that, I think there's a couple things about scales we still need to say, and I'm going to recommend that you memorize one thing, which is the musical alphabet. So if you're not familiar with the musical alphabet, that's probably the one thing in music that would be worth taking the trouble to memorize. It's pretty straightforward. There's 12 musical notes. And that would be from octave to octave. Every one of them gets a name. We use 7 letter names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we would start over at A again. And the majority of the notes are a whole step apart, which means a fret apart. So for instance, this is G, 3rd fret, 6th string, and this is A. So there's a fret between them. But there are 2 exceptions to that. E and F are always right next to each other. So this is the open E string, E, F. Then we would go from F to G, G to A, skipping a fret each time, A to B, and B and C are right next to each other. Then we would skip a fret to get to D, skip a fret to get to E, and then E and F are right next to each other, and so on. The notes in between are labeled with sharps and flats. So sharp means just a little bit above, so this is F, this would be F sharp, and then this would be G. But this is also just below G, and we label those with flats. So this same note has 2 different names. It's F sharp and it's G flat. So we have F, F sharp, or G flat, and G. And that's it. That's the whole system. 12 notes, 7 letter names. Most of the notes are separated by a fret, the whole step, except for E and F and B and C. And those in-between notes have 2 names. There's a sharp name and a flat name. You can use either name. So you can call this G sharp or A flat. Usually, if you're heading up the neck, so if you had a melody that went G, this note, then A, you'd probably call it G sharp because you'd say you're going up from the G, G, G sharp, A. Or if you're going down, you might say A flat, G. And then depending on what key you're in, there are certain keys with sharps in them and keys with flats in them. That also determines what you name the notes. But for the time being, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just call it whatever you like. Call it C sharp, call it D flat. People will know what you mean. The reason you need to know this is that you do need to be able to find notes on the neck. You don't have to memorize them at first, but you do need to be able to find a note, and I'm going to demonstrate that right now. We're going to make up an imaginary song, and we're going to pretend that you found the chords to this song on the internet, and the song has 4 chords that repeat over and over again, and the chords are A, F sharp minor, D, and E. A, F sharp minor, D, and E. So you need to be able to find, at the very least, find those 4 notes on the 6th string. I would recommend starting with the 6th string in terms of learning the notes. So A is right here. F sharp, if we go E, F, F sharp is on the 2nd fret. E is the open string or the 12th fret. And then D is right here on the 10th fret. Now, the next question we would maybe have is, what key is this song in? This may take a little while for you to get the hang of, but there's a couple clues you can look at. Usually the first chord of the song and the last chord of the song will be whatever key the song is in. Our song starts on an A chord, and so there's a possibility that's in the key of A. But another really good clue we have is, if you remember the lesson about the perfect fifth, this song has A, and it has the note a fifth above A, E. And that, if you remember, that descending perfect fifth is the really strong change. And so that implies that this is going to be home bass A. We also have this note 2 frets below the 5th, below the E, D, which is the 4th. And those are the 3 strongest notes in the key of A. A, D, E. So we're starting to see pretty good evidence that we're in the key of A. This F sharp minor, which is 1, 2, 3 frets below A, is actually the 4th most common root note. It's called the relative minor. And it's always going to be 3 frets below the major root. So if we have A here, A major, F sharp minor, that is the relative minor. So these 4 chords, to any musician with a lot of experience playing songs, is going to clearly be in the key of A. Now let's look at what we can do with this. Let's imagine that it's 2 measures of A, 2 measures of F sharp, 2 measures of D, and 2 measures of E. That's the song. The place to start is to think like a bass player and maybe just play every beat, play a root. So something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, from that D, I can either go up to the E on the 12th fret or I can go down to the open string. I'm going to use the open string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's A, F sharp, up to D. Depending on the style of music, the bass player might be playing something like that. That is a place for us to at least get our bearings as to where the root notes are for the 4 chords that we're going to do. Let's look at if we added a 5th above that. So I'm going to take the A, skip a string, go up to the next, go up 2 frets. That's a 5th. Now this is if we wanted to do maybe a Chuck Berry kind of thing. You can add that 6th note. We might have something like this. Let's put an octave above that 5th, and we would have power chords. We have something like this. Now, if we add the 3rd to that power chord, A major, F sharp minor, if you know your full bar chords, that would be kind of the final destination. Minor bar chord. So all of those ideas would be fleshing out the root note with a chord until we're using all 6 strings. Let's jump to the higher strings, and here are some other ideas. If I find the same root notes, remember my A is on the 5th fret, there's that octave pattern, so I also have an A on the 4th string, 7th fret. So A, F sharp on the 4th fret, D on the 12th fret, and then E on the 2nd fret. So now if I build triads from that, we'd have something there. Probably work even better on the top strings. So the top strings, we have a lot of different options. If you remember these different shapes, we could have, like, let's imagine it has kind of a reggae beat. So I'm going to do A. This is a 2nd inversion A. 1st inversion F sharp minor. Root position D. Slide it up. You could also do something where you try and stay in one part of the neck as much as possible. So here's a 1st inversion A major chord, 3, 5, 1. Then I can find a 2nd inversion F sharp minor, root position D, and a 2nd position E. So the whole thing would be. like that. So those are just some basic ideas showing you how you can pull together some of the information that I showed you to come up with guitar parts. The style of the music really dictates what you choose to do. There are a lot of styles, if you're playing with a full band, where your job as the guitar player is only to play very small, sparse parts on the top strings, like that reggae style example I was just showing you. Hopefully this video showed you how you can start with a root note, flesh it out into a full chord, and play triad shapes on the top strings, and some of the possibilities there as far as coming up with guitar parts using the interval ideas that we've looked at. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.